Hey guys, it's the nerd half of this Nerdtroverts duo, and today I'm here with my July wrap-up. So for this video, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of July. This month I read 10 books, which just blows my mind because I had like a full week of not reading as well. So I don't know how I managed to read 10, but I did. The first book I read this month is not really a book and more of a graphic novel, and that is Username Regenerated by Sugg. I read Username Evie like when it came out like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just never got around to reading this, but it was like really cheaply on sale on Book Depository, and so I ordered it and I read it quickly. It wasn't bad. I didn't hate it. I just I'm not invested, I guess, and while I really love the art style, the story itself kind of lost me. So Username Evie is all about this girl called Evie who is trying to connect to her dad who passed away, and she finds this old game that he created just for her, and it sort of takes her into a virtual reality. The way that you behave there reflects how the world acts. And it was a really cool idea, and I really liked the first one, but this one just sort of fell flat for me. It just wasn't as interesting or as good. In July, I also finished the Darkest Minds trilogy by Alexandra Bracken. I decided to read the Darkest Minds trilogy because the movie is coming out and I saw the trailer and I thought it looked like a really interesting story, and so I wanted to read the book first because I'm one of those people, and I really enjoyed this series. The last book, Never Fade, I just finished and didn't love it as much. Most of the book was actually kind of boring and like slow paced, and the main character was making decisions I didn't like. But the first 2 books I really enjoyed, and I liked the ending of the 3rd book, but it was just like one of the books had to be a bit of a letdown. It has to be, it's a trilogy. So the Darkest Minds is all about this future world not too far from our own, where there's this outbreak of a disease that only affects the younger generation. Kids just start dying, and the kids that don't die get these powers that they can't always control, and the government and the world fears. And there's like an order. There's 5. There's reds, oranges, yellows, greens, and blues. And they all have different powers. And it's all about this main character, Ruby, and just trying to survive in this world that wants to destroy her, and also her sort of being afraid of the powers that she has. And it's a really interesting book, and it was written really well, and even though for most of the book I found Ruby to be very annoying, I liked the world overall, and I would die for Liam. Just so you know, I would die for that character. Next, I read Ashe Princess by Sebastian. This I didn't really know a lot about before going into this book, and I really enjoyed this book. It was very stereotypical. Like, I would say this is like Throne of Glass meets Red Queen. Like, it's very similar to both of those books. But it was also its own book, and I really enjoyed this. Probably more than Red Queen, but I don't know if I like it more than Throne of Glass. The main character was supposed to be the Fire Queen, but when she was young, her mother was murdered, and she was sort of kidnapped and held hostage by the overall king, you know, the bad guy. She's being forced to sort of become someone that she is not, and she's used as an example for the rest of her people, you know, like not to fight back. We have the princess, she's completely under our control, things like that. And they humiliate her and treat her like garbage, and she just is trying to survive. It's all about her trying to survive. But one day the king, or the Kaiser technically, forces her to do something so terrible that it changes the way that she sees herself in this world. She no longer is going to be complacent and silent. She is ready to fight back. And it's not easy to do in a world that is completely controlled by this guy, but she's going to do the best that she can for her people and for herself. I really enjoyed this book. It was a great read, and the writing was really good, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the rest of this series. The next book that I read was The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. So The Woman in the Window is all about this woman who has agoraphobia, or the fear of going outside, and so she watches the world from her window. A new family moves in just across the road, and she's super intrigued by them. And one night she's looking through a window looking at this family, and she sees something she's not supposed to see. People aren't taking her seriously because of what's happened to her in her life previously. I don't want to say anything else because I'm going to spoil it, but I was shocked at the end. I usually call things super easy because I just have always sort of enjoyed mystery things, and I can sort of pick up on the pattern of like, oh, this is that person, this is that person. But this one took me completely by surprise, and if you like that kind of novel, I highly recommend you read it. It's written in a sort of strange way, but you get used to it pretty quickly, or at least I did and my mom did. And I just highly recommend you checking it out. And the last books that I read this month were the Ironface series, or at least the first 4. I got this box set years ago, and I sort of decided that if I didn't read them now, I'd become way too old to read these sort of books. And I'm pretty sure I'm already too old to read these sort of books because I did not like this book series. I think the highest one I rated might have been the last one, Iron Knight, because it wasn't told from Megan's point of view because she annoys me so much. The Ironface series is all about this girl called Megan who is half human, half fae, and it's about her going into the fairy world to find her brother who has gone missing or has been swapped with a changeling. And there's a love triangle, obviously. It's kind of like a love story with this fae stuff being more behind the scenes. Like, I really enjoyed the world and I want to see more of the world and the courts and how it works. Like, that interests me. But Megan and Ashe and Puck, like, I just don't care. I just was not invested in these people, and I was just reading these books to actually read them. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I want to know what happens. I was just like, I want to have finished this book series. And I pushed myself through it, and I was giving them like 2 stars on Goodreads. Like, I just was not enjoying these books. I just don't find them that compelling. The main character was really, really, really annoying to me. And I think it's just because I'm almost 21 years old and she's 16. And I'm like, was I like that when I was 16? God, I must have been so annoying. Because like the decisions she makes are just... But I read them, and now I can say that I read them. And I don't regret reading them, but I just wish that I had read them earlier. Like, I regret waiting so long to read them. That's what I regret. That concludes my July wrap up. I read a lot of series, like less individual books and more just like I read the entire Ironface series and the entire Darkest Mind series. That's sort of more what happened this month. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully the books that I read next month, they'll be around, you know, the similar quota, but uni goes back tomorrow. So I have a feeling that my reading is going to decline a little bit, which is sad, but I'm glad that I got this reading out of the way. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Hopefully I'll be able to do more wrap-ups as the months go on, but we shall see. And don't forget to watch my last video and Karina's last video and our last group video. They'll all be linked on the screen and down below. I will see you in those videos, or I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!